A new Assassin's Creed Shadows update has dropped with the first free quest, many bug fixes, the best weapon for now got nerfed, we really got a ton to go over. Let's start with that new quest, no spoilers of course, it has us interact with Louis Frois again and learn a bit more about his work. But first, in order to do this mission, you need to have completed the Fox target, one of the final ones that you will need for the main story. So of course focus on those targets if you can't go after the Fox yet. But after assassinating this target, you can learn more about Yasuke's past, so do his personal quest. And then at one point you get to the Path He Walks mission, where you have to meet Louis Frois. After completing that, you can find a brand new quest over here on the map. It actually immediately pops up when you open the map for the first time after installing the patch and meeting the requirements. Now there's sadly no reward for it, it's also not that long, so basically what I already expected. Still kind of fun to play through, but don't expect too much. Another brand new thing they added are Codex entries for all the characters you met in the game. If you're like me, you find it sometimes hard to keep track of especially the side characters or targets, or if you want to refresh your memory, you can now read about them, which is kind of cool. Now onto some changes. Maybe you remember this pre-launch video of someone at a preview event destroying an altar, which caused quite some uproar. It was one of the many controversies for the game, even though I think the person who spread this information destroyed the altar himself. Although I cannot fully confirm that. Either way, in the day 1 patch, they already made some changes and made some of the props undestroyable. You could still break some things though if you wanted to, but now with this latest update, those will also remain intact when you swing your weapon around, so you can do no more harm to these shrines. Ubisoft says that merchants will no longer offer multiple instances of the same item in shops, but Joyce did find the same tree in an ornament shop after the update. So I guess this was not really changed. Something they did change is the best weapon for Naue, the Egan Sunset. We got a big nerf on our hands. First, you would be able to trigger a slow time effect on an escape strike. So you could basically always be in slow motion, making enemies a very easy target and almost unable to do anything back. Well, now after the patch, the perk reads that you slow time after escape strike interrupts enemy, which basically means that you will see the slow time effect way less often. So it sometimes triggers on an armor break, but not always. Maybe because they now build in a cooldown for the effect. Of course, hard to tell without a visual indication. And it also overall feels kind of random what counts as an interrupt of an enemy. But yeah, I guess it does make sense that they wanted to nerf this. Still, the leap strike, escape strike combo is really powerful, although you can now do perfectly without this rare slow time effect. We got ability changes. I want to share my take on this first, like kind of roadmap update and way more. And by the way, I'm doing a giveaway in the pinned comment for Helix credits. Be sure to like the video and subscribe if you want to enter. So yes, ability changes and fixes are for the Snakebite ability, because that would first cost you 2 adrenaline chunks instead of 1 like other abilities. Well, that was not intended, and now after the update it cost only 1 adrenaline chunk. The Crescent Strike ability for the Naginata from Yasuke got a bit of a buff, because first the initial strike of this ability did not do any damage. Well, now it does. It's not a lot, but still kind of nice. And yeah, then the enemy of course drops on the ground and you can finish them off or deal a ton of damage. Some pretty big stealth fixes include the fact that the guaranteed assassination setting now finally works with kunai. So first you could assassinate everyone, but for the kunai you would only remove health segments. Well, not anymore. And I, by the way, also tested a fix for the ground assassinations on this dice show. So ground assassinations are for when an enemy is knocked out on the ground and then you assassinate them. With the improved ground assassination skill, you get an extra health segment for doing an assassination like this. Well, it first did not work, but now it does after the patch. Also, sometimes enemies would not die from assassinations when they were knocked out, which should also be fixed. And after performing a double assassination, Naue could not swap weapons if she was using the katana as a primary weapon. We did not have this issue, but it has now been fixed for if you did. And first, if you do a sprint dodge and then crouch, you would be faster for like 5 seconds before going back to normal speed. Well, this has now been addressed. It doesn't work anymore. A very annoying bug was for when you would buy and equip headgear at a merchant. You would then be kicked out of the shopping menu. So you would have to press the shop button again to get back. Well, this is luckily not the case anymore. but that exclamation mark in the inventory menu is sadly still a thing. Even if you like looked at everything in your inventory, it still is there. I really wonder when they're going to fix that, because it's quite annoying. They do say that they fixed an issue for the insane amount of deer that could spawn and run around on main roads, and sometimes alarm bells would respawn after cutscenes. Well, this should not be the case anymore. We also got multiple photo mode fixes. The lost known position visual effect first remained in the photo mode, just like the Codex orbs. Well, now after the update, they both disappear when using the photo mode. And first, when decreasing the vignette intensity, the vignette effect actually increased a bit. Well, this is not the case anymore after the update. But yeah, my fear from the post-launch video that I will leave a link to at the end of this one kinda came true so far. For an update a month and a half after launch, this one is very bare bones versus the past games. They said, for example, in the roadmap that this update would also include quality of life improvements. Now sure, if they mean bug fixes, then I guess that's the case, but every update includes fixes like this. It's nothing to promote on your roadmap. I was expecting at least a few things, like follow the road and the return of the sell all feature that is sadly not back yet. So I went back and looked at what an update for Assassin's Creed Odyssey would look like around this time after release. For one, maybe you remember them doing a video every month where they would tell you what would be coming in the next month. That was so exciting, and it's kinda wild to me that we'd never seen that format for an Assassin's Creed game ever again, although I guess that for Shadows you can't really like make a full video about everything that's coming in a month, because it's not a lot. For Odyssey we had an update every 2 weeks, and we already by this time had 2 new missions that are longer and had more content than the quest that we just got in Shadows. They added the stat page to Odyssey around this time, the first mythical creature, a really cool end game challenge, Ubisoft Connect items that are still absent from Shadows. They also already increased the level cap from 50 to 70, introduced mastery levels for more endgame progression, and 2 months after launch they had the first episode of the Legacy of the First Blade. This is the same studio that is now doing the post-launch for Shadows. It's night and day. There was something new for Odyssey every week, but now in Shadows we got this 20-minute mission and have to wait 3 weeks for a special collaboration. Like, I'm not expecting a lot from this, apart from some Helix items. Hope it's more. Then in June we will have another 20-minute mission probably. So before we get some actual content, we're probably in July or August and September, when there are a ton of other games coming out. Yeah, I'm just not very like excited about how it's going right now. But I don't like being too negative. I'm just really passionate about this. And again, I'm just kind of baffled by the fact that their previous post-launch rollout was really great. Even for Immortals, it was really great. And now they're kind of stumbling out of the gate. So we will see how it goes. Of course, let me know what you think in the comments, subscribe, leave a like, and check out that video on the roadmap for if you haven't watched it yet by clicking on the screen. I will speak to you soon. Goodbye.